What's going on, people? What's going on? This live stream may not be for you. In that case, that's what it is. But for those that want to hear what I have to say, consider this. Let's talk about mental health. A lot of times, mental health, people just think about it with the extreme. You know, they just think about it, when folks get to the suicide level, and it's not always a suicidal thing. Sometimes it's just anxiety, fear, you know, low levels of depression, before it reaches up to a high level, concentrated, post traumatic stress disorder, any, type of, paranoid schizophrenia or disabilities that anybody, may face. And I don't pretend to be, a psychiatrist, a doctor, or anybody that understands that on any deep level. This is just something that I'm talking about because I look in the news, I check on social media. I know people personally who struggle and suffer with, issues with mental health and different disorders of the mind and stuff like that. And sometimes it's just an emotional thing. People may not really understand. Let me take the time to sip some tea before a whole lot of people come through. Mm. Thank you for the one person to be here. I might be here for a while talking about this, because there's a stigma that comes with people who have, issues with mental health or whatever the case may be. Not whatever the case may be, exactly what the case may be. Sometimes people are just stressed. Sometimes people are de-stressed, distress. Sometimes people are just, really in fear, going through anxiety or pressure, that causes them to have mental breakdowns. I mean, one time I had an ex-girlfriend, somebody asked me, have I ever had a mental breakdown or whatever the case may be. And I never really took too much time to thought about it, but you can imagine, what a person may be going through, when something's going on in their mind and they're feeling something and nobody else may understand at that moment what they're particularly going through or what they're facing. You could try to articulate it as much as you might, but unless you're really living in that person's headspace or experiencing what they experience in their body, you don't know. I mean, you have high profile, suicides and stuff like that, and sometimes it becomes too late. I remember, the suicide of Robin Williams. The issues that he was dealing with. I think he had some type of disease. I don't know exactly what it was. I won't lie to you and try to get into what the disease was, but people suffer through things, and they go through stuff, and sometimes when they feel like they can't be, who they once were, sometimes they get suicidal, and that's just like I guess the serious, the more serious end of the spectrum. Once we start to pay attention, like CNN's Anthony, was it Bourdain or something like that? He killed himself recently. There was a suicide from him, and then there was another suicide from another high-profile individual, Kate Spade. Kate Spade, the designer, the bag designer. I don't know if anybody knows Kate Spade or whatever the case may be. So it just goes to show, no matter whether you're rich or poor, whatever spectrum that you are, on the scale, in society and life, be it you're a celebrity, be it you're rich, be it you're poor, everybody has mental health issues. Some of us just cope with it in different ways. What's going on, Charge Time? Thank you for coming through. I appreciate that. Some of us just cope with the mental health in different ways. Some of us, maybe a little bit stronger than other folks. Not to take anything away from people. There's nothing wrong with having a mental health issue. It's just being able to get help. And there's a stigmatism that comes with people, having mental health issues. We like to pretend, that folks need to be pushed off in the corner somewhere, or that's them. That's something that they're going through. That can never be us. Excuse me, I had to get the spray out. I seen some mosquito. I had to just spray out. Sorry about that. Rest in peace to that mosquito. Nah, but for the most part, we take these things for granted that any one of us at any time could face mental health issues. We only look at it sometimes when it becomes a big deal. When somebody over there commits suicide, but that could be anybody. Anybody could get to that point where you get depressed, or you feel alone, or you feel helpless, or you feel like nobody can understand you. Things change for you, or whatever the case may be. Nobody is really there for you. Sometimes people may get depressed and suicidal when they can't pay mortgages and stuff like that, or maybe their health is declining and not the same person. What's going on, Fury Double O My? It's not just mental health issues. Sometimes it's just real life issues. Yes, the real life issues can bring on issues with mental health and breakdowns and stuff like that, and just fear and depression and stuff like that. Stuff that may be too deep for the person on the outside looking in to understand. A lot of us like to diagnose and say, what a person should do with their life. And, when somebody commits suicide, they say, well, instead of them committing suicide, they should have did this or they should have did that. And especially when you look at folks with money, you know, people of fame and fortune, like Kate Spade, I mean, who would have thought? Who would have knew? So it's kind of crazy. And then with the guy Anthony Bourdain, that did the show from Parts Unknown, I think it's Parts Unknown, I think it was, the show that he did, with the chef, world famous chef. I mean, one time he was sitting down with President Obama, on one of his CNN shows, in a foreign country somewhere. Who knew that you would go from sitting with President Obama to, committing suicide? So it really gets to that, and everyone to another place and say keep pushing as deep as stone. Yeah, no, definitely, Tosh time, definitely. We know that it's a deep, it's a deeper thing, than just just a slogan, but it comes to a place where sometimes, we need those things to keep us going. We need those things to, really put us in a space where we can, prosper or just be normal. A lot of us are fighting to be normal. Yes, I agree totally, Tosh time. Some judge, many don't know. Yeah, nah, definitely we all have to live out our truths. But a lot of times people, are judgmental. We're quick to, have an opinion or viewpoint on somebody else's life and not know what they're going through. Not even being able to cope with it and understand. Sometimes if you look at somebody else's life and if you had to live or walk a day in their shoes, you probably crumble. That's why I tell anybody I would never try to trade spaces with somebody else because one of my favorite quotes and is as a photography. It's from photography. They said the brighter the picture, the darker the negative. Sometimes you may see somebody on the outside. It looks like a very bright picture. It looks like everything is a picture of health. Everything is going good. It's sunshine and rainbows. Two cats in the yard. You know what I'm saying? Was it? My house is a very, very, very fine house with two cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard, and then you find out that life is hard. But the thing is, on a serious note, you never know what secret hell a person is struggling with, mentally, physically, or otherwise, until you open the doors to that house. Yes, always forward. The quote from the movie Luke Cage, and keep pushing forward. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I like Luke Cage. I seen that on Netflix. And then you find out there was drone worship. Yes, there was a drone worship. Mm. Thank you, drone worship. And I haven't forgotten about you, but I say that when I see you because I forgot about you. But I still love you, drone worship. I don't know. This is an issue that's so big that is inescapable. I think all of us at some point in time have faced some type of mental health issues. It's just that a lot of us haven't been diagnosed with any disease or any clinical illness or something like that, or any a thing that medically that could be seen as a stigma or something like that. But everybody has faced something, whereas feelings or emotions, things that push you to a point where you feel, like, damn, the whole world is against me, or things may not be working out. Some of us probably have even been suicidal or just depressed and down in the dumps. Yeah, we're all crazy in some way, but some just keep the urges under control. And I agree with you totally, wholeheartedly, drone worship on that. A lot of us, are just, better at acting normal than others. Some of us are just able to keep our demons and our skeletons hidden, but we all face things. We all struggling, in this life, in this world, trying to be normal. We have things that if, they came up on the screen or, they put out on a billboard somewhere, a lot of us would hide. I know I would. I mean, come on now, if you listen to that little voice back over their head, is yeah. And you got those little voices and things that, may cause you to do things or want to do things, that conscience, that little devil, the little angel on the shoulder, do this, do that. So I mean, we all face things, and or sometimes we face things. Some of us have the strength to face things, some of us don't. And the thing is not to be judged for it. A lot of times we judge people, and that's probably, the worst thing to do is to look at somebody and figure, hey, that person is going through something over there, and that would never be me, or I'm better than that, or I'm bigger than this person, or whatever the case may be. You have an instant in front of your mirror with a razor ready to shave your head, and you always thought, I wonder what happened if I shaved my tongue. Not in that not in that way, strong worship, not in that way, but I could understand. Um, yeah, yeah. That's one way of putting it. That's a delicate way of putting it. Tosh Tom, that's a delicate way of putting it. I mean, I've had thoughts, I've had, crazy thoughts about things that, I could possibly do. I'm not going to get into it in this live stream, but I mean, we've all had crazy thoughts. We've had times where we didn't care. I've had times when I probably drank myself, to a point where, I didn't care, or you get depressed, or things happen, or whatever the case may be. I mean, come on, that's how little voices and then second little voices come in and say, yeah, there's a lot of little voices and counterproductive things that happens, influences. The devil is alive. The devil is ever present. Saying there's demons and all kind of things. Negative vibes out there in the world. But for the most part, this is about the folks that don't overcome that. This is for the folks that do succumb to that. This is about understanding that people struggle with things a lot. Not everybody has the same strength, and that's important to remember. Sometimes when we look at people who have money, or we look at people who appear strong outwardly, or always have the right things to say, or always seem like they know the right things to do. Remember, they have sometimes people have a lot of pressure, they have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of things behind the scenes that really would cripple them if it went wrong, if it went left. I mean, that's why you'll see celebrities sometimes, decide, hey, maybe I'll kill myself because, things didn't work out the way that supposedly, or my health is not going to be the same. Sometimes people don't want to see, themselves deteriorate and have their family members see them in the worst state. I think it's Switzerland. I don't know if it's Switzerland. I forget what country it is where they have high rates of assisted suicide. And the funny thing, not the funny thing. Let me reword this. Because this is not a funny thing. The crazy thing. I can't even say that. I don't want to say the crazy thing. I'm trying not to be politically correct. Some people have stress, but some people, because I'm in the bullshit, they overcome. I speak from experience. Yes, I can definitely agree with that. But I don't even know. I'm trying to say this the right way. I don't want to be politically correct about what I'm about to say. The truthful thing, about what's going on in this country is that the suicide rate is going up in all states. In all states, the suicide rate is going up. The reality is that people are more depressed. People are more, overwhelmed, overworked, stressed out. There's a lot of people, young and old, rich and famous, poor and downtrodden, who are actually taking their lives. A lot of people, are losing hope, and the statistics show, like I said, it's just that sometimes it doesn't get addressed until, it is a high profile suicide or killing or situation. Even sometimes, you have to link the whole shootings, school shootings to mental health. I don't try to make that the whole issue or whatever the case may be, but that does, relate to it. Sometimes, the real issue is, gun control and all that stuff, but not to get into that. Suicide is number 10 cause of death in America, and that's sad. It's alarming. I love how motivational Celeste talks. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. I love how motivational Celeste Stone talks. He's like, but you see your knees, your heart, and keep moving forward. Yeah. That's from the Rocky movie. Drone worship. I love that. I love that. I love that saying from one of his Rocky movies. No matter how hard you get hit, you got to get up and keep taking the punches and keep moving forward. It's not how hard you get hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And some people have that strength. Some people don't. And the thing is not to down people for not having that strength. Some of us are strong enough to take the hits and keep moving. Some of us are strong enough to have some really bad days, some really bad moments. I'm somebody that if you see me, after a couple of relationships that I was in, I remember one of my homeboys, if he was here now, he would tell you how I looked. I think it was 2003, 2004. I had a not a long-term relationship. I'm about to lie about that. I had a relationship that lasted for a couple of months. And when the relationship was over, he was saying that I looked like a fiend, a drug addict going through withdrawal because how bad the relationship was on me. Sometimes I stay away from romantic relationships because when things don't end well, I can get very depressed and really you question yourself with everything that you do sometimes. So, people go through things, people face issues, people have, mental breakdowns or lapses, whatever, for whatever reasons, whatever things is going on in their life. And then, there's the mental disabilities that people have naturally, things that they have to deal with, or they're born with, or they develop over time, or whatever the case may be, because of accidents and things that happen. I just think too many times we push away from it, and we stigmatize it because it's a monster. It's a big issue to deal with. Yeah, yeah, romantic relationships are intense, and something I try to get myself ready for, and put myself in the vein to do. Because if you're not ready, it could tear you up. It could take you down, both male and female. Mm. But that's enough of that. I'm not getting into my whole romantic side. That could get depressing in itself. But you know, um, it's work to be with anybody in a relationship. Be it you gay, straight, black, white, religious, or otherwise. So that's just what that is. Tell us about Nicole. Yeah, well, yeah. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't know if you remember that. Nicole was a nice woman. Ooh, once upon a time, not long ago. The end. But on a serious note, yeah, moving right along. I don't know. I had the brain of an elephant. Well, I'm glad I only said good things about you. You can't remember. You can't remember all, Tashta. You can. If you remember everything, I'll be impressed. You can't remember all. I've said some things that slipped under the radar. Still waiting on a romantic relationship. However, then ride single for another 9,000 years. Well, yeah, that's a whole other issue. Single in a relationship, not in a relationship. I tell anybody, be ready for that. The best thing you could do when it comes to a single relationship is to have yourself together. Not worry so much about trying to let the other person make you complete. Let that other person compliment you and add to your life. If anything else, that person should make you who you are, be it you male or female, whatever the case may be. Okay, I'll remember most. Yeah, there you go. Like I said, I've slipped some things in there, Tosh, time that you didn't catch, but I won't remind you because I'm not trying to get myself in trouble. They weren't bad things. They weren't bad things. They were funny things. But we'll leave it at that. I talk fast sometimes, Don't worry about it. But for the most part, yeah, 009, it's about getting yourself together, getting yourself together and making sure that you're right, with what you need to do, in any particular situation, not letting it, not letting you be overwhelmed by trying to have somebody complete you and stuff like that. But back to the mental health thing, we can leave it at yeah, what, yeah, what. I catch a lot. You'd be surprised. Yeah, yeah. Tosh, Tom, you can catch a lot. Sometimes a lot of things that are court, I'll say, are things that are allowed to be thrown out there. Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Like I said, there's a lot of things that you throw out there, and I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. That's funny. That's funny. That's funny. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, shaking my head, shaking my head. Good thoughts, all positive thoughts. But for the most part, let me get focused. Let me get focused. I'm focused again. I'm focused again. Okay. Now, but on a serious note, yeah, moving right along. On a serious note, like I said, I just think there's too many people out there, who get stigmatized, who get judged, because they have issues and things. Like I know in the military, the whole post-traumatic stress disorder, how it took years for that to be taken seriously. Don't go too deep in trouble now. Nah, nah, nah. I never get too deep in trouble. Not on the live streams. I got the kids, they watch. They ask, hey, Uncle Mel, why'd you say this and why you do that? And no. Anyway, like I said, you're too young to understand. But moving right along. Yeah, sometimes, there's just a struggle for people to be, acknowledged when they're going through things mentally, and then also too is expensive. It's expensive to deal with that. How do you, know what's going on in a person's mind, especially when you can't see it. It's not manifest. People have hallucinations, or they hear voices, or they go through things and whatnot. So it's a particular situation where you have to understand that anybody at any time can face issues, when they actually go through something, they have a mental breakdown, or they're not checking out their own health and your health in general too. You're being careful about what you listen to, the negative vibes that you may keep around you, the negative self-talk that people may give themselves at times. That it's important to not give yourself negative self-talk and doubt yourself and take yourself out of the game. Almost like I talked about one time in a live stream, the self-fulfilling prophecy. Where if you think negative things are going to happen. So what is it? Not Murphy's law. Is it Murphy's law? I think it's Murphy's law. What will go wrong, what can go wrong will go wrong, or something like that. I mean, you want to make sure you're not taking yourself out of a particular situation and whatnot, and just fighting against yourself. But it is challenging sometimes. When people may not take the time to understand you or want to understand you. It may be a situation where it's too deep for people. Sometimes when you have, mental issues or deep psychological things going on with you, there are people who may be ill equipped to deal with it, or emotionally, it may be too much for them. Sometimes folks may not have that strength to be there for you to listen and whatnot. And it can make you feel alone. It can make you feel, desperate. It can make you feel like, maybe, this life isn't for you and stuff like that. And I'm here to say that there are people out there who can help you. You just have to be willing to hang on and strive and be there and survive the day. For some people out there who are facing, mental health issues, it's about surviving the day, surviving each moment, trying to get somebody to listen. A lot of times people don't realize that, folks that are struggling with things mentally or psychologically, whatever the case may be, going on in their mind and their psyche, and in their soul in some cases, sometimes they're just fighting to be heard and understood and taken seriously. And a lot of times when people are going through things, we're quick to dismiss them. They say, oh, that person's crazy, or they're 730, or they're mental, so we dehumanize them and tear them down. And that's always wrong, because at any time, any one of us could be that person. We like to believe, sometimes we like to believe that can't be, because, we go through things and, okay, I'm so strong, I'm so smart, I'm together, I'm healthy and all this other stuff. People have mental breakdowns. People have things that they go to. People get depressed. People get, emotionally disturbed. People have things that can warp and change their mind. People have had sexual abuse. People have had, traumatic situations where loved ones have died. Folks have had situations where they lost jobs, or, a child has died, or they lost a child, or, they went through an abortion. There's things that people went through, whether you could have been robbed or somebody was murdered in front of them. You could have seen something, very dramatic that changed your whole view. Sometimes people just get shell shocked with things, so it's all kind of things. Yes, Vlad the Impaler, R.I.P. Anthony Bourdain. Yeah, so these things happen, and that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about that right now, because I seen the story on Anthony Bourdain. Rest in peace. Thank you for giving me a like. But this is something that I encourage people to talk about. Mental health issues and things with suicide. Specifically, sometimes suicide, people feel like when they commit suicide, that that was the only way. It was a last resort, because nobody could understand what these folks are going through. And then the thing is to try to let people know that you are valued, you're worth. You have something to contribute. Your life matters. Anytime I see anybody commit suicide, I say, it's another life wasted, another life lost. It's sad. I mean, then there's Kate Spade, rest in peace, Kate Spade. It's a sad situation as well. But it just goes to show that just because you're rich and famous or you're powerful, doesn't mean you can't succumb to mental health issues. Doesn't mean you can't succumb to the thoughts of depression and suicide, and to the point where you just say there's no hope, because money and or all the money and fame and fortune or power in the world can't stop you from having issues or going through things. We're human beings. What's going on, Patch? Appreciate you. I'm talking about mental health, how people face things and go through stuff, and how people get stigmatized and dehumanized and whatnot. Jim Sherry said, I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of, so they can see that it's not the answer. Yeah, I heard him say that too. I saw that Andy Kaufman thing. You got that from the net on Netflix. I seen that too. I saw some of that. That was actually pretty good. That was actually pretty good, Vlad the Impaler. But Jim Carrey was breaking down some rich stuff. He was talking about that as well. I seen that. So it's true though. All the money in the world and being rich and famous is not going to stop you from having problems. I think it's Biggie Smalls, the rapper Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G. just said, more money, more problems. Jealousy and envy come with the territory sometimes. So sometimes you go from a person with anonymity and just being able to have people that really cared about you for you to now folks are using you and abusing you. You don't know who to trust. You have paranoia and issues of anxiety, or you be like Kanye West, you bipolar or something like that. These are real things that happen to people, and these are things that really people get dehumanized for having issues, for being human, and sometimes it's a sad situation, that people get dehumanized for having issues. The least of us, the smartest among us or whatever have issues, what I'm saying? But just because we have issues or disabilities and things going on doesn't mean we can't be great thinkers with or creative and stuff like that. You have people who are blind, world class musicians. You have people who've had physical disabilities, the Stephen Hawkins of the world, who were able to do things and make things happen in different ways. There's so many things that people have to contribute regardless of mental health issues. But the reality of it is that so many people feel alone. So many people feel like there's no option and whatnot. So what it is that sometimes unfortunately people feel like they should take their own life, and it's always sad when that happens. You try to be there and prevent a person from doing that before it happens, but they said it's like if you tie a person to a chair and you prevent them from trying to kill themselves. As long as you're there and you tie that person to the chair, they won't kill themselves, because you have them tied to the chair. But the reality is, once they cut loose from the chair, if they're gonna kill themselves, they're gonna kill themselves. Yeah, your responsibility, true, famous helps. Oh, you're talking to Vlad. That's cool. Yeah. So I just think about this stuff because this is stuff that affects us all. Even if it's not you personally that it affects, we've all had family members, friends, people who felt like giving up, folks that were suicidal, people in our lives, be it ourselves or folks we've come in contact with, people on the street, folks that have just thought that there was no other way. People who wanted to jump off buildings in front of cars, who wanted to slit their throats or, take pills and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy. Yes, but mental health can change from one year to the next. It can. It can. But that's Vlad the Impaler. That's about being there and surviving. For a lot of people, I say it's about surviving the day, surviving that moment, trying to positively reinforce. It's a daily struggle, we die daily, and that as has been said by the writer, so as it's been written, we die daily from our negativities, our bad habits. We have to unlearn a lot of different things. We have to know that it's okay to be different. It's okay to have faults, flaws. I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. I have my issues on a daily basis that I struggle with. But some people are just better at dealing with them. What's going on, Barbie? Hi, thank you for coming through. But I say with mental health, it affects so many different people. It affects us in multiple various ways. It affects us in relationships that we may have with people, be it work, be it romantic, be it just our neighbors. It's something that, is at the core of who we are. And a lot of times it's more nuanced than people think. Just having anxiety sometimes, just having a fear, phobia sometimes is connected to your mental health. But true, but humans will always have mental health issues because we are flawed and we choose what life we want to be, as Mel always said back in. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It is a situation where, as human beings, we are flawed. We have issues and whatnot. But you can choose what type of life you want to live. If you can bear through the pain, if you can bear through the obstacles, the goals, the things that you may face, how you feeling at that momentary, situation. This too shall pass. But sometimes, folks that may not be strong enough to do it because you may not believe, you may not have that hope. And the funny, not the funny thing, I don't want to say the funny thing about it. The sad thing about it is like a hopelessness that sets in. And you try to tell people, as much as you can with your words, with your actions, not to lose hope, to always, pray or hope or dream or push for a better tomorrow. And sometimes it's easier said than done. Sometimes you have people out there, whose emotions, whose fears, whose phobias, whose mental health issues don't get reflected. You have people who are not being heard. You can listen to a person as much as you want. You can sit around a person and tell them and try to lift them up and be an inspiration as you want. But sometimes it just doesn't do the trick. You could tell a person you love them. You could say you care about them in so many different ways. You can buy them gifts. You can do things for them. But sometimes it's just not enough. And that's who one day you don't realize that someone will always have it worse or better than you. It's a two-way street. That's true. That's true. There's always going to be somebody that has it worse or better than you, depending on what's going on. But it is about the individual and what that individual is facing, and having that reflected in a realistic way where they can be relatable to them. Social media can change and can be cancerous to one's mental health. Yeah, Vlad the Impaler. Social media can be cancerous, but it's not social media because I've had this conversation before. It's not so much social media, but it's people. It's in mankind's nature to abuse its resources. So we abuse the atmosphere, the environment. So why not will we abuse social media? I mean, realistically, it's not social media itself. It's the people who use social media. It's the things that they do with social media that makes it destructive and dangerous and whatnot. Should there be an off switch? There is an off switch in some respects, but sometimes folks don't want to turn it off. Because people are always looking to be connected. People are always looking to be heard and stuff like that. People make the social media just as people make the guns. People kill guns. People kill, not guns. Some people make that argument. Some people make the argument that guns kill. And people with guns kill, but people are connected to that. So people kill, not guns. If I make sense, they say what people kill, not guns. But the reality is, if you look at it on the other side, what happens is the guns are still deadly instruments that even if they went off by accident, they could still kill you. So it's kind of a slight, it is a weapon designed to kill you. So people make the choice to kill. Guns are just a tool. Yeah, some say that guns make it easy to kill. Vlad the Impaler, you have a point there. Guns make it easy to kill, but in the heart of it, regardless of what you think about it, at the core, people have to choose, what they're gonna do with that gun, whether you're gonna kill, we're going into a gun debate. It said no, that untrue. Well, people have different viewpoints on that, but this is about the mental health side of it. We'll leave that conversation for another time. Anything used to kill makes it easy to kill. I guess 20 people with my car. Yeah, you could say that, but I'm trying to stay on the whole mental health issue because I don't want to get the whole gun debate lost in this whole conversation about whether guns kill people or people kill whatnot. That is important. It's a great conversation to have, but for this conversation, like I said, I'm just gonna stick to the mental health part of it because that's what I think is a much bigger issue, which goes back to humans. Yeah, I think it goes back to human beings. Fury 009. We as human beings, choose, how we're gonna, handle things or cope with things or whatnot. Yeah, no, Vlad the Impaler. I try not to make this a gun debate. I mean, because we'll have plenty of time to get into the gun debate, and I know Patch is a big proponent of that, of gun rights and whatnot. But I don't want to take the thunder away from the mental health issue because I think the mental health issue is much bigger, much more impactful, much more relevant to talk about than the guns. The guns will be there, whether legally or illegally, whether there's a Second Amendment right or not. The guns will be there. I think we can all agree with that. Somebody's gonna have a gun somewhere. Even like as Charlton Heston said, you pry it from my cold dead hand. So that's a conversation that'll always be. So I'm too tired to shoot fire. Yeah, the basements and anything. Yeah, I got you. Fury 009 on that. But buying my please. Hey, I hear you. Brother. Be safe out there. You're ready for the war if it comes. But for the most part, like I said, back to the whole mental health part of it. There's people out there that's struggling. There's people out there that's really going through it. And they need help. And they need to be heard. And sometimes, there's people that are out there that are not really listening and are not really, giving folks, that real time, that real effort, that real energy. And sometimes, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, maybe it's not good enough for folks, or people may not, be penetrated by your best efforts, and in those cases, it's kind of sad, but the reality is that, the causes, that seem the most hopeless, or the most destitute or lost, are the ones we're fighting for. The people that feel like they have nothing to live for, no hope, that, maybe suicide is the only way. Those are the folks that are worth fighting for the most, because, you'll be surprised what you can do for a person, or what can happen when you, get a person in touch with the fact that, what, life is precious. This existence has meaning. Everybody here is important on this planet. And like I said in a couple of live streams ago, everybody is somebody. Everybody. Who that somebody is dependent upon you. For the better or worse. Sickness and health. And too many times, when we have adversity, when we have, life-threatening diseases, or, a loss of a relationship, or, a child, or something, horrific happens, then people get into that, and they can go into a deep depression, and I'm really focusing on depression and suicide here, because, a lot of things have manifest themselves, in depression, hopelessness, suicide, and stuff like that, that has come. And people that have other mental health issues, or, mental disabilities, which, is the same, but it's kind of, like a little bit different, because you have people that are born with certain things, and that's, a part of that as well. I think it's about having a different view on how we see people who are struggling with things and going through stuff. It's important for us, people that are not struggling as much as somebody who may have, deeper issues, is not to dehumanize them, not to stigmatize them, not to look down and condescend on them when they have issues, that we may fear, or don't understand. As to understand that, sometimes, we have family members that are going through that stuff. You can have a children. What's going on, Mac Truck? Thank you for coming through. I appreciate you. Yeah, I was just talking about mental health, how important it is, to everyday life and whatnot, and just different things that people need to do. And sometimes on a much lower level, sometimes, for those of us that, may not be as bad, or as affected, it is about, what we take in as people. People like to shift on millennials, but it isn't easy to be one either. I don't. You have to explain that comment, Vlad the Impale. You have to explain that comment a little bit more. You know, it's not easy being a human being to live at all. It's work to live. It's not. Especially with all the things that people go through, stuff that people face and whatnot. It can be a challenging thing, a trying thing. A lot of times. So, really, it's just about trying to understand your place in the world and how you can cope with things, and not letting things overcome you and overwhelm you. This life can be stressful. It can be overwhelming. It can be very, divisive. It can be a cold world out there some days, where you don't know if people care about you, or really, there for you and whatnot. The previous generation always thinks that they're better than the generation that comes after them. This is the case sometimes, in certain instances, But the thing about different generations and whatnot, not everybody from every previous generation thinks that they're better. Some folks say, you know what, hey, I can learn something from the previous generations. Yes, and it goes back to the individual. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the individual from the versus the collective. So it's an old conversation, very old conversation. Some would say ancient. I don't know. The social pressures felt by the young people of today are greater than ever. Well, I can agree with that, Vlad the Impaler, especially with social media. With people getting bullied and stuff like that. If you talk about cyberbullying, it used to be back in the day where you have a bully in school. Maybe in your neighborhood you deal with it, you scrap it up, something happens. I don't know, somebody gets stabbed or shot or whatever the case may be. Or you just walked away. What depending on what generation you're from, that was the end of that. Nowadays, not so much. You can have the bullying, cyberbullying thing going on in school. You can have it going on in home. You can have it going on in the streets. You can have it going on everywhere. Because I like to learn the best of my ability to any generation. Okay, you're talking to him. So I mean, with this advent of social media and how we use it and whatnot, anybody can be bullied and taken to different limits and stuff like that. To where people you know decide to take their life. I forget about it was a kid who went to Rutgers University. His last name was Clement. I forget the kid's first name, but he was gay and he was exposed for being gay, and somebody secretly recorded him having sex with his boyfriend or one of his boyfriends or something like that. And he was embarrassed by it and he turned around and killed himself. I mean, I wish he wouldn't have killed himself, but it's that embarrassment of having a private, intimate moment put out there. and it really just gives you a feeling of hopelessness or fear or shame and stuff like that, and then people feel like there's no other option. So, they just, take their own life. And it's sad when that happens because you say to yourself, all you had to do is just try to fight through it a little bit longer. I have not watched 13 Reasons Why. I've heard about it, but I could imagine some of the things that's going on that show. I mean, these are probably a reflection of what people are going through in today's landscape and whatnot. I remember a story from 2005. I think I saved a newspaper article about a kid who was getting bullied, on social media. I don't know if it's Facebook or something like that. And the last thing that the person sent their mother, was "I love you, mom," and see you around or whatever the case. And they wound up hanging themselves from a tree. So it's kind of crazy, how people can get bullied and how you can have a feeling of hopelessness, and it can mess with your mental and really take you into a headspace where you don't need to be or want to be, and you just have a feeling of fear, of shame, of depression, of hopelessness. You don't know which way to turn. And these are real things. These are stuff that it's important to really look into and say, hey, what's going on here. And a lot of times when these things happen, sometimes people don't have those great support systems around them. Sometimes they do, but when it comes to mental health issues, as much as we may try, people may put on appearances and show a bright picture, and you may never know. The passive bullies are the worst. Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely, they can be the worst. I mean, how do you say this? What is it? Passive aggressive. So there's a lot of passive aggression, going on out in the world. When people may not be overtly, but they undercut you and subtle and stuff like that. So it is that out there. A lot of microaggression and stuff like that. So these are things that may make people feel like they have no other option to turn to. Being harassed or sexually harassed by a boss or something, or having situations where being made to feel uncomfortable or less than as a human being, or stuff women may face. They got the hashtag Me Too movement. I mean, for all the women that have stood up, there are women out there who mentally felt defeated, or some that may have taken their own lives and things like that. So there's always that other side to it that folks may not see in the media as well. That may not be brought to light and stuff like that. People face issues. These are things that are realistic. These are our mothers, our wives, our sons, our daughters, our uncles, our cousins, our grandfathers and grandmothers, that go through things and that face stuff. And they feel like they have nobody that understands, nobody that cares. And sometimes it's hard to spot because you never know when a person is going through something mentally. You can see a person and it seems like everything is going right. Everything is good with them. Nothing can go wrong. And then you look up and you find that that person is dead, or had a nervous breakdown, or whatever the case may be. As I was corrupt use of power authority. Yeah, that's something you was talking to Tasha about. So it is a situation where it's so nuanced. It's so undercover that you really don't know sometimes. I mean, like I said, it could seem like everything is good on the outside, and then you look, and then maybe a person is having marriage problems, or maybe it's identity issues, or it's issues with health. You never know what will cause a person to go over the edge, or cause a person to really go through stuff. In all seriousness, magic mushrooms, when it takes a responsibility, can allow you to come to an epiphany. I never heard of that before, but that's something maybe to look into. I'm not somebody who knows all the answers or anything like that. Sometimes, for the most part, it's important to check in and pay attention to people's behaviors. That you're around, that you love, and folks that you know. Take them serious. You never know. Sometimes there's people out there crying out for help, and the problem is that we're not listening. What's going on, 805 Road King? I appreciate you. This is a deep conversation, sir. So I understand with you. I understand. Like I said, I know some folks don't want to get too deep into the serious stuff, but I'm just talking about mental health and how important it is in any particular situation. I mean, people, go through stuff. Like I said, there's people out there crying out for help, and sometimes, the reality of it is people don't feel heard. That's why a lot of folks kill themselves, because they feel like they've ran out of options. And it's crazy. So um, yeah, I remember that Tosh time when you was talking about that. That was a crazy situation, or a wild situation. But you handled yourself well. So you did what you had to do. But so many times, even on the other end, people, may have things going on with them. You really, 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 really never know, what a person is going through. You really, really never know, how people could be phased, or just affected by different situations that they went through. Sometimes people had hard childhoods. You never know what the particular situation is. I just think that mental health in this country, in society, is not taken as seriously. People get marginalized, they get distanced, they get put to the corner, put out the pasture. And don't get me wrong, it takes a certain level of strength, of love, to be able to deal with people that have mental health issues. Besides that, thank you for coming through. I appreciate you. It takes a lot, of fortitude, a lot of love in your heart, to be willing to deal with people, or talk to people, or be there for them when they're going through different issues. Whether it's small, whether it's serious, or big, or whatever the case. And it's all serious. No matter how big or small it is, it's all serious. But it takes a lot of love in your heart to be there for people when, they're just down in the dumps. Sometimes they just need somebody to listen. They don't need advice. They don't need somebody to try to fix all their problems. I'm somebody who had to learn that as well, the hard way. Sometimes when you see somebody going through, yeah, Tosh, some people are full of ish, but it is what it is with that too. But a lot of times when it comes to people that really are going through stuff, sometimes it's just about listening, just letting people know that you care. I mean, and the people that are full of ish, let them be full of it. They're gonna do what they do. They play their part. The people that are full of it, play their part. Much respect to 805 Road King as well. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you for stopping by. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Realistically, these live streams aren't the same without you. I would be here by myself. But I appreciate folks for coming by. And I know this is not an easy issue to talk about when it comes to mental health. And like I said, I'm not trying to depress anybody, but this is something that I would like to bring some attention to, because there are people out there who who are going through things. A lot of us go through things. Let them play their part to a certain extent. Well, yeah, Tosh time, people play their part, in life, when it comes to certain things, but that's probably a whole other live stream right there. I could do a whole live stream on that alone, folks playing their part, people being full of ish, to say it slow, so to speak. But that's like I said, that's a whole other live stream right there, a whole other live stream. But it is a valid point, it is a valid conversation to have. So I don't know. But I mean, right now, for the sake of this conversation, like I said, this is about the things that people go through, the things that people face. Just the need to have that positive space, those positive vibes, people around you that care about you, that are concerned about you, people that want to see you win, people that want to reinforce you, in the ways, all the ways that you need to be. And just understanding that sometimes, no matter what we do, no matter what we try, no matter what we say, it just may not be enough. You pray for folks, and you hope that they pull through whatever situations that they're going with. And you pray that if it does go left, and it goes into a crazy situation, you pray for strength for the family to deal with all. I think it's relevant for this live stream, but you are the host, so I'll conform. No, you don't have to conform. When it goes to it, Tosh, bring it up. Maybe it's something I missed. Here's the thing about my live streams, and I always say this: I don't pretend to have it all figured out. Now if I see it going off to another place, it don't need to go, of course. But if there's a point that I'm missing, please let me know, because um, yeah, I don't have it all figured out. Believe me, it's one something a.m. in the morning. So please elaborate, Tosh time. By all means, please elaborate. So I want to hear what you have to say. Another viewpoint: a bully is just another obstacle, even though it's harder for others. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Nah. I would like to hear what you have to say, Tosh time. Believe me, I'm not being facetious about it. It is something that I'm interested in. I'm interested in your point of view, you know, about people being full of ish or whatever the case may be. I mean, just trying to relate it or whatever the case. to the conversation. I mean, and it's helpful. I'm open minded. Do you really want to hear what I have to say? I always want to hear what you have to say. Um, yes, I always want to hear what you have to say. You come from a good place. You come from a good place. Tosh time is turning into wise time. Yeah, wise time with Tosh time. There you go. No, she has very strong ideas, opinions about things that I always respect. Whether I agree with them or don't agree with them, I always respect Tosh time because she's come from a real place. There's not a made up character behind that. Behind that screen. Not that I know of. Hope not. Nah, let me stop. But yeah, she's always been straight up with me. So believe me, I have no problem hearing what you have to say, Tosh Tom. Especially in this conversation, especially if you took the time out to sit on the live stream with me, you could at least be heard. So, believe me, if you have anything that you want to say, I'm all ears, I'm all eyes right now. So, well, you never met me, so perhaps I made up a character. Well, I seen you on camera. How do you know I'm not made up? How do you know this is the real me right now? I could be a figment of your imagination. A young illusion or a middle age illusion. You never know. Um, but yeah, nah, you could elaborate on that point. Like I said, because the one thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to. Hopefully, I didn't push you off or shun you or anything like that. It wasn't that. It was just me just trying to make sure that I stay on topic. So, but if it relates to that and it's something I miss, by all means, I tell you or anybody else in this chat, speak up, say your thing. This is a Disney stream, forgot. This is Melo as a cartoon character. Yeah, some people say that. Agree or not, mutual respect exists in this room. Yes, size that. I've always had mutual respect for everybody. I definitely always want to hear what Tashdam has to say because I know she's very passionate and comes from a real place with the things that she's talking about. I never offended by her. I always go back to the time we was having a conversation on here. I forgot what we were talking about, and I was like, "Yeah, I agree with you, Touchdown." And she was like, "I don't need your buy-in," and I was like, "That's cute." I was happy. I was happy. I was like, "Yes, okay, okay, okay." I was like, I didn't agree with you for the buy-in, but I appreciate the fact that she was making sure like this is my point of view, regardless of whether you agree or not. So, like I said, I'm always respectful of that. So like I said, if you got something to say, anybody, and it relates to this conversation, speak your piece. Definitely speak your piece. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid, and I welcome it. I'm very passionate. That's why I try to be careful what I share. Well, yeah, that's an important piece right there. You got to be careful what you share with folks and whatnot. People will take it and use it against you. Take the blue pill, and the story ends. You wake up in your bed, and none of this happened. The red pill, and I'll show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Of course, that would be drone worship to say that. Do I have any red or blue pills here? No, these are not blue pills, but there's some pills in there. So I don't know what that is. This is the evening pills too. Anyway, there's that whole thing. If I had red or blue pills, there was a weekend song. He says, "These red pills. I got two red pills." He said, "What did he say? I got two red pills to take the blues away, lose your way." I don't know if anybody listens to the weekend, but that's from his latest My Dear Melancholy. Anyway, that shit just made me think about that. Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. All right, I can remember only show you the door. You must walk through it. What about the red, white, and blue pill? Interesting. I don't know what the red, white, and blue pill is, but that's another story. So, Tosh Time, I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to elaborate. I'm waiting for you to elaborate. I have not forgotten, even though time has elapsed. I'm really interested to what you have to say now. Living in America. Living in America. Living in America. A baby on the way. Drone worship has a baby on the way. Is that news? I don't know. It's happening. Wow. Okay. If you got a baby on the way, congratulations. I mean, nickname him, middle name him Melvin. But anyway, no, he's not. Nah, let me stop messing with you. Yeah, yes, I say that's every lady right now. Wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm waiting on you, Tosh Time. I'm waiting on you. You know. If you want to elaborate, I'm here. I'm here. If not, I understand. If you got a little shy, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay too. I get that too. Anybody else that wants to add anything else to the conversation, I'm open to that as well. So I don't know, but it's what it is. I didn't even think you heard that part, but it's what it is. It is what it is. I mean, sometimes I'm talking and I forget that the people hear what I'm saying. It's not the same with your Morpheus glass over. I'll tell you. Well, I know Joe worship you gave me about the whole Morpheus glasses. So I'm gonna do something for you right now. That's gonna help you explain all of this stuff. Let me see right now. Yeah, I got that, but I'm gonna give you mine. I'll give you mine. So, I'm just here right now. Oh man, because I'm gonna keep forgetting. I got so much stuff going on, you know. And I'm just gonna write my email address down too, because I keep forgetting to go back. So this is here. I guess if you could see it, this seeker.dreamer.believer@gmail.com. You should change your YouTube name to Zion the Truth. I don't know if I'm always telling the truth, but I'm here enough. I'm here enough. I just try to tell it how I see it. I'm not always right with how I see it. Yeah, it's backwards. I just saw that. I just saw that Tosh job. I was realizing that. I could turn it forward, but you can't see it. That's funny. Yeah, it's backwards though. But bro, just screenshot it. Said it. Come on. Oh boy. See, here we go. Here we go. I try to be here for the audience. Let me screenshot it. Let me screenshot the. Sorry about that. Interview Melon, the Melon the interview Tosh time. I don't know. No, I'm still here. RP stream, rip stream. I'm still here. I don't know if Tosh time is ready for for this interview. I might hit her with some hard hitting questions. I don't want to put her on a hot seat. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I would try to give her some fair questions. I mean, it would be interesting to see the questions that she asked me. If she was to interview me. I know her audience is passionate and whatnot. That would be a. I don't want to put you on the hot seat, Tosh time. I mean, but it's all good. It's all good. I'll send you some fun stuff if you email me to make sure to wear stuff once it's streamed. Okay, cool. Or pay for your Tosh. No, no, no. It's no verses. There's no verses. I mean, I'm not gonna verse Tosh time. I don't want to crush her. What I'm saying with my superiority. Nah, let me stop. Let me stop. I'm joking. I'm joking. That was a joke. Um, nah, Tosh Tom is definitely cool peoples. Definitely cool peoples. I'm glad for the support. I'm glad for her to come by because I know she doesn't have to support my channel. So I please none of you have to support the channel. So I'm grateful for when you come by and whatnot. You'll go easy on me. I could only hope. For some reason I didn't laugh, bro. Hold on, I'll be back. I need to perform a self-diagnosis. Gnostic. Wow, wow, wow. That is funny. That was a cruel joke right there. A cruel twist of fate. But it's okay, Drone Worship. I appreciate you. Mm. And Taj Tom, you still didn't add the point that you wanted to add. But it's okay. It's okay. I get it. I get it. I get it. Mm. Mm. I was waiting. I was waiting. But it's all good. It's all good. I think you folks kind of get the gist of what I was talking about. I guess this is the part of the live stream where you kind of just wind it down. You get it too. Do you now? Do you now? Josh time. Yeah. Anyway. Anyway. Yeah. Moving right along. Right. Moving right along. Yeah. It's a late night. Booty. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My mind wanders a lot of times in the midnight. Sometimes you forget that how expressive you can be. I'm just glad that two cool folks in my bush, y'all. Yeah, thank you. I'm just glad that my thoughts can't be read sometimes. Yeah. All sister check out conclusions. The joke was not funny. I don't know if I told a joke, but that's funny, drone worship. You tried. You tried. You tried. I never claimed to be a comedian, but I do have things up in my sleeves sometimes here and there. Like I said about my channel, there are rare moments of comedy, and if they are there, I'm not saying that they're funny. but they are what they are for the most part. I'm just grateful for folks coming by, just having these conversations like we have, and giving the support that they give. Very scary thought. We're glad we can't read all your thoughts, man. Oh, yeah. Nah, that's good. That's good. Some of my thoughts are actually funny. Some of the things that get me in trouble, but for the most part, all my thoughts are pure. Yeah, anyway, would you really want to be inside the head of Melville? Sometimes you probably would, but then again, no. Like, would you really want to be inside the head of Tosh Tom or Drone Worship? Who knows? Or Size Dad, or Fury, 009. Would you really want to be inside the head of another human being for 24 hours? Who knows what you would find? Who knows what evil lurks in the mind of man? I mean, I saw a freaking fetishes some come through. Yeah, that's interesting. There goes Zion the truth. Haha, with pure thought, pure truth. I don't know if it's pure, but it's a joke. I don't know, bad joke. I forgive me. This is the part of the live stream where I'm just getting loopy, and I don't know if there's anything that you folks have to say because I've really hit the hour mark. If there's nothing else to say, if there's nothing else that you have for me, to be honest with you, I'm just here because of drone worship and Tosh time right now. I had to say it the other way because I didn't want to cause a problem. Bang bang, walla bang bang. There you go, Tosh time. She's called it a night. So since she's called it a night, I'm gonna take care. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you all, folks, for coming through. As always, as always, as always. Yeah. Thank you, Size Dad. Thank you, 009. Thank you, Tosh Time. Thank you, Drone Worship. As always, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. And thank you, Tosh Time. Oh, yeah, what? Yeah, what? You know, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Tosh Time. Probably a little too much. But anyway, talk to you later. Peace.